What's going on, cocksuckers and cocksuckerettes? It is the 63rd edition of the MMA Podcast, October 7th or October 8th, depending where in the United States you are. Thank you for tuning in. We got a lot to bring you tonight. UFC Fight Night 29 is in 2 days, Wednesday night, just about 48 hours. That's going to be exciting coming from Brazil. We got that main event with Jake Shields and Damian Maia. The winner is going to be in a very good spot as far as the welterweight division goes. We also got a pretty stacked main card, as I said. A few news bits coming through this week, along with the Bringing the Jew to You, the 10 solid seconds of sports. We got Ramses, me, Ross. Let's do it.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Thank you very much for tuning in. It is the 63rd edition of the MMA Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can always follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. We just changed from Friday nights to Monday nights, aiming for that 11:30 p.m. Eastern spot. So if you are available at 11:30 Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific, definitely tune in, listen to us live, tweet in, call in, whichever you like. We are starting a little late tonight, but yeah, we definitely encourage anyone to call in and tweet us, whatever. And we are joined tonight by two spectacular gentlemen. First and foremost, I gotta give it to the word on the street. You can follow him at the And Jimmy Show. You know him very well. He is Ramses. What's going on, bro?
What's up, weirdos? Listen, people, I'm the guy. I'm the man who shut down the government. I did that. You know why? Because we're better off without them. If you want to know more, and also some UFC rumors, news, the latest breaking news before it even breaks, man. I've broken stuff weeks before it even came out. Anyway, follow me on Twitter, The Ant Jimmy Show. That is the word on the street.
That's right. And we are also joined by the man himself, the intelligent Jew, the smartest Jew in the business. E before the L, it's Ross Finkelstein.
You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. E before the L. Find me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein. E before the L. What did you do today? You know what I did today? I learned how to fly. That's right. I flew.
This motherfucker flew. And let's get straight into it. Honestly, this was one of the weakest weeks of MMA news. Really nothing that drastic drip down. Nothing that drastic happened.
Nothing drastic happened in the MMA world, ladies and gentlemen.
Nothing happened.
So
Yeah.
Jake is leading into a topic. Here he's segueing. But
I'm leading into a topic that is meh. It's Royce Gracie saying that there's not enough focus into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the Gracie fighters. We just, have not really seen, the success of guys named Gracie in recent years. Royce saying that, these fighters are spending too much time looking into, different sorts of martial arts, and they're not spending all their time on jiu-jitsu. So the question is, what's more important, having one strong suit, having one tremendous talent, or having a well-rounded game? I think it's obvious. It's having a well-rounded game. Do you all, agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
It depends, man. Because some people get away with doing some shit for a long time that's just one-dimensional. First thing that comes to mind, Ronda Rousey. I haven't seen anything that would indicate that she's well-rounded. She's got one move. We all know what the fuck it is. Or sorry, what the hell it is. It comes out every time. The armbar, every time, predictable. We know that's
You can say
it.
fuck.
She's a one-trick pony. Oh, thank you. She's a one-trick pony is what I'm saying, though. So, but guess what? She's the champion. So in some cases, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could get good at one thing and dominate for a while, but it's only a matter of time. Sooner or later, God's going to cut you down. Word on the street.
Yeah, when I said no fucks and no talking about weed before, I was just joking. I'm super high, and I don't give a fuck.
I'm
Ross,
trying to clean it up anyway. I've found the creator. I've been in contact with him recently, and he has shown me the light.
Tyler, the
Praise his
creator.
name. No, that's a. We'll have a different. I'm going to start a new entire podcast, just talking about the secrets of the universe. Because isn't that what? I mean, I don't care that I'm going to die someday and blink out of existence. There's not going to be any consciousness. I just want to know what the whole point was before I go. So I'm going to start a podcast, and we're going to find out, people, or I'm going to die.
I'd subscribe to shit out of that podcast. Ross, what do you think?
I've lost track of the question. We're talking about the universes and finding this God, this savior, this guy of some sort.
Is there a God? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, I brought
Yes,
him on the
there is.
podcast last week.
I've seen
so
humans,
obviously-
and I've seen God. Yay.
Supposedly there was a son of God, and supposedly, Ross, you killed him? Your people did?
I can't comment on that.
All right.
But I do believe the question was, is it better to be well-rounded or have one specific thing that you excel at? And there are people who can get away with being one-dimensional and having one specific tool that they are just really good with, such as Ronda Rousey or Ben Askren. But if you look at the champions in the UFC, Cain Velasquez, well-rounded. John Jones, well-rounded. Chris Weidman, well-rounded. GSP, well-rounded. Anthony Pettis, well-rounded. Everyone's well-rounded. So to be a champion in mixed martial arts, it's mixed martial arts. You have to put it all together. This isn't boxing. This isn't jiu-jitsu. This isn't kickboxing. So if you have every style, if you are able to not master, but get a good feel of everything, you will excel in this sport. If you only have one little dimension, sure, you're going to do great. If you can fight the right people, if you're a great wrestler, and you have okay striking, not great striking, but you're a really good wrestler and you just wrestle, you're going to beat a lot of guys. But once you face the guy who's the wrestler who can stop the takedowns and he's got really good striking, you're screwed. Or someone who's got really good jiu-jitsu that can submit you, you're screwed. So it's better to be more well-rounded and to have multiple disciplines because it's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. Back in Hoist's day, when he's going against guys who are wearing one boxing glove, that's much different than going against guys like George St. Pierre, who you can't take down, who you've either got to stand up with or have to be on your back against. Even then, just standing up against them, just being good.
Look,
and
hold on.
and
I
one
have to
skill
also
is
address
not
something,
enough.
man.
It's not enough.
I gotta address something about Royce Gracie. All right, yeah, like he's very good at Brazilian jiu-jitsu. All right, but the elephant in the damn room, which a lot of people don't even fucking know or don't even know about, is that the first couple of UFC tournaments were actually organized by the Gracie family. And you know how I'm always calling everything a work or whatever, but that tournament was fucking organized by the guy who won. All right, his friends and family, they put all the money behind it. They picked all the matchups, the refs. John McCarthy was one of them. He'll tell you, read his book. He actually goes into detail about this. So really, was Royce Gracie the best, or was he fighting a bunch of no-name cans? You know what I mean? And he was busting out, because before they would, you had to qualify for this tournament according to Big John McCarthy's autobiography, which everybody should purchase. And when you were qualifying for the first...
Which is called Let's Get It On, by the way.
Exactly. Sorry. Yeah, it was slipping my mind. Big John McCarthy. Shout out. But to qualify for the first UFC tournaments, you had to actually just, spar a little bit and roll. with, well, guess who? Hoist Gracie. And if he whooped your ass and you didn't know a goddamn thing about jiu-jitsu, guess what? You were in that fucking tournament. You were out there wearing one glove before you knew it was all over. That's all I'm saying. That fact has to be brought up. Hoist Gracie's family organized the tournaments that he won. Word on the street.
Word of the street. Well, I guess unless, Ross, you have anything, we don't have that many news topics to get to. And to break up to break up the monotony a little bit, we got our 10 solid seconds of sports. Every podcast, we take a little bit of time to talk about sports that are not mixed martial arts. I'm ready to go. Saints, Broncos, and Chiefs still undefeated after Week 5 NFL action. Buccaneers, Jags, Steelers, and Giants still winless. NHL season begins in the Avenue. Patrick Waugh goes crazy. Rays get a walk-off home run wins. We go into the latter stage of the MLB divisional playoff action.
My damn arm. Shoulder.
Stumbled a little
Broken.
bit, but all that matters is the Rays
Fire.
got that walk-off homer. That's all that matters.
Everybody.
Let's move on. UFC 169 news, which is going to be Super Bowl weekend. Overeem and Mir is moved from UFC 167 to UFC 169, which will be Super Bowl weekend in Newark, New Jersey. And John Jones and Glover Teixeira were scheduled to fight there. Instead, Dana White saying that was a premature move by their PR department, that fight will not take place on UFC 169. We've talked enough about Mir Overeem, which has been moved to that card. Probably won't be the main event or co-main event, but will definitely be on the main card. Let's talk about Jones versus Glover. We weren't really sure if John Jones was going to get the rematch with Alexander Gustafsson. That was a very close fight. Definitely the best fight in light heavyweight history, if not title fight history, if not UFC history, if not MMA history. That was a dog fight. That was a war. But the rematch is not going to happen immediately, even though we will probably see it down the road. Jones's next title defense is going to be against Glover Teixeira. What do you guys think about the fight? Definitely his likelihood of winning has diminished a little bit in a lot of people's eyes after just being boxed up by Gustafsson. Most people would say that Glover is probably a more dangerous guy standing up than Alex. I guess we'll really see to what amount that reach played a factor, because Glover, you cannot stand in the pocket against for two reasons. A, he has an iron chin, which we saw in the Ryan Bader fight. B, he can put you down with the right hand or the left hand. What do you guys think about John Jones versus Glover Teixeira?
Yeah, well, you pointed out first that, the UFC announced Glover versus Jones going down Super Bowl weekend or whatever, and then they issued a retraction saying somebody jumped the gun and goofed. All right, you know me, guys. I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical here by nature, and I'm calling bullshit on this, man. Retracting something the Super Bowl weekend, that's a big deal. That's a big mistake to make if it were true. That's why I don't think it was. My best guess here is what I'm getting to. John Jones is hurt more than anybody realizes. That foot, it's a big problem, people. And you're thinking, man, it's just a foot. It's not like his shoulder. It's not like he broke his orbital or his neck or anything. No, the foot is crucial, people. Trust me. Anybody that's ever broken their foot knows what the hell I'm talking about.
Or people with foot fetishes.
Or diabetes. Diabetes. How does the guy say it? Diabetes.
Diabetes. I'm Wilford Brimley.
That's right. Well, God bless everybody who's dying. All right, but Jones. It sounds like he's dying. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's got diabetes. I don't know. That foot's screwed up. It keeps getting more perpetually screwed up. But here's the trick, people. I know for a fact that I could whoop John Jones's ass. And if anybody in the UFC is listening right now, anybody, trainers even, listen to me right now. The key to beating John Jones, it's simple now. Foot stomp. It's all over. Game over. You heard it first. The word on the street.
That's right, Ross. What do you think?
I completely agree with Ramses about the foot injury. That's the reason why this fight's not happening in February. Super Bowl weekend, Jersey, Newark. John Jones has fought there multiple times. That's the perfect place for this fight, and obviously the only logical explanation as to why this fight's not going down at that event is because John Jones is not going to be ready in time. They said the fight's now set for March, or at least they're trying to book it in March, which is weird because that's usually where they hold a Montreal card. So that would mean John Jones once again would be fighting in Canada, and it would be weird to put John Jones versus Glover Teixeira on in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. But as far as the fight goes, we've broken it down a billion times, and after watching that fight against Gustafsson, it's really interesting now because we saw what happens when a really good boxer like that with good takedown defense can fight John Jones, but more so we learned about what happens when John Jones fights someone who's his size. And although Glover's really skilled, and I think he has a great chance of winning this fight because of his skills and his power, and he's just very well rounded, he's not 6'5". He's not 6'4". He doesn't have an 81-inch reach. He can't match the size of John Jones, which will probably be his downfall, but I'm really interested to see if he's able to catch John Jones with a punch, because I think Glover Teixeira, actually I know Glover Teixeira has more power in his punches than Alexander Gustafsson does, and if he's able to catch John Jones with one of those punches, he could put John Jones in a world of trouble.
Definitely. I mean, Jones showed that he's not an invincible guy, either being taken down or standing up. I don't know what was wrong with him, or if it was just Gustafsson, really taking advantage of a great game plan. But Jones definitely showed a weakness in UFC. His performance at UFC 165, and Glover's going to be a handful for him for sure. Let's move on. We got one more news topic before we go to UFC Fight Night 29, and that is Cain Velasquez being awarded his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And the question's simple: does Junior Dos Santos offer him any challenge on the mat? I say no. Whether it's against Junior or anyone else, I don't think Cain needs to worry about being on his back just because he's such a high pedigree wrestler, and along with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, the only place he's really got to worry is standing up and boxing with Junior. He's obviously in the main event of UFC 166, going to try and take him down again like he did at that New Year's card about 10 months ago. Does Junior offer Cain any threat on the mat?
Listen, I have video of Dana White pulling out a gun and shooting some young man in the head, killing him instantly. JDS versus Cain. The third fight, the trilogy. The rubber match, if you will.
Wait, what?
JDS versus Cain, going down UFC 166, Houston, Texas, the Toyota Center.
All right.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend as my brother is getting married on that very day. I had tickets. I had to sell them, at 3 times what I paid, which was nice, but, nothing makes up for that, man. It's once in a lifetime. I did everything I could to stop the marriage, too. I did, people. I just want you to know that here. I did it for the show, for you guys, for the MMA podcast, for the Final Round podcast. Anyway, I have no idea how this fight's going to play out. Cain's probably going to win. Well, actually, yes, I do know. It's going to be a work. Cain's going to win in front of the Mexican audience, secure that crowd, that fan base. Houston's going to be a new source of income for the UFC and Zuffa. God bless everybody. JDS, he's a company man. He took a dive last time. He already proved he could floor Cain in less than a minute if he wanted to. That's it. It's going to be sad to see. Well, I won't be seeing it, but, it's just JDS is the true champion as far as I'm concerned. That is the word on the street.
Ross?
This fight is, I can't even put it into words. This fight is incredible. The first time, obviously, JDS knocks Kane out. Second time, Kane absolutely mauls him. What's going to happen the third time? As far as can JDS match his skills on the ground? JDS, we haven't seen his jiu-jitsu at all. I assume he's got pretty good jiu-jitsu because you're a mixed martial artist, and especially if you're a Brazilian mixed martial artist, you train jiu-jitsu. So he's got a ground game. We just really haven't seen it. That being said, this isn't a fight that if it goes to the ground, there's going to be a lot of jiu-jitsu. It's going to be punching and trying to stand up. And one thing that JDS has is he has really good hips, and he's really tough to hold down. He can spring back to his feet like a cat. So this is very, very interesting. I'm going to pick Kane, and I think Kane can actually finish this fight. I think Kane can TKO him. But this is probably the greatest trilogy in UFC history. It's an unbelievable fight, and I've been pumped for this fight since the last one, and I just cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, it really is, and each man's win really exemplifies their style. Junior with a quick boxing knockout, Kane with just 25 minutes of grounded pound punishment that left his opponent and Junior looking all sorts of fucked up. It's a great trilogy. I'm leaning toward Kane, but the dude got knocked out in 60-something seconds by Junior the first time around. So we will see. It's going to be a great fight, UFC 166 in Houston, but that's not the card we're about to break down. The card we're about to break down is UFC Fight Night 29, taking place in Brazil, being headlined by Shields vs. Maia. And like we usually do before we get into it, we're bringing the Jew to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing the Jew to you. Last week, I had God bring the Jew to you because I really wasn't feeling like doing anything. I don't know how I can follow that up because that's just a huge thing, and it's just really hard to follow up.
Praise
God,
This card's just, I love this card. I actually think this is a nice card, but the odds just really aren't, they're not great. I haven't even really looked at them, so I'm just going to go down the list live with you guys. We got Damian Maia, Jake Shields. Don't bet on this shit. The odds are terrible. This is just not worth betting on. Maybe put a small play down on Dong Hyun Kim. Possibly he may be able to win this fight with grappling against Eric Silva because he's like plus 220. But I wouldn't even bother with that one. That's stupid. Matt Hamill, he's like plus 300 against Thiago Silva, who's minus 360. Yeah, maybe put a bet on Matt Hamill, but he's been out for a year, so who knows. Mike Pierce, who's from Paul Harris. I like Pierce in this fight, but those odds are just terrible. Minus 300 basically for Pierce. It's just not worth betting on. Maldonado, Beltran, who cares? Dillashaw, he's good, but minus 240 is just not worth betting on because Rafael Assunção is a great fighter. And then there's just a bunch of like really, really weird fights. I think there's like 4 prelims. Just don't bet on this card. Save your money. Buy the boxing pay-per-view on Saturday. Buy Bradley versus Marquez. You'll get your money's worth. That's all I got. I brought the Jew to you. Now just fuck off.
Spend the money on some boxing pay-per-view and fuck off, says the Jew. And that's bringing the Jew to you. And let's get right down to brass tacks. We're not going to talk about the prelims. Those fights weren't really as compelling. If you want to check them out, Google it, go on Wikipedia. If you're listening to this, you got the internet. Go and do it yourself, cocksuckers. Let's start off with the first fight on the main card, which is actually a really great fight. This is a good main card of fights. We got TJ Dillashaw and Rafael Assunção, both of whom are definitely rising toward the cream of the crop of the bantamweight division. Ross, I know we've talked before about the future of the bantamweight division, and you're right and really high on whoever wins this. Well, let's start off with you. What do you think about the fights, and what do you think the winner? What position will they be in that 135-pound division?
Yeah, this is a really, really important fight, that 135. You've got two guys who are on 4-fight winning streaks, and although a lot of people really they're not high on TJ Dillashaw, I am, because he's looked so good. He's so well-rounded. He's getting better and better and better with each fight. Each fight he looks 10 times better, and he's up there. He's one of the best in the world right now. And even though he has a loss on his record to John Dotson, who's a 125er, and it was the Ultimate Fighter, and people, you get hate for losing the Ultimate. I mean, usually when you win the Ultimate Fighter, you don't really go far. We've seen in previous seasons, but to lose the Ultimate Fighter, then you really don't go anywhere. And this is a guy who, even though he lost the Ultimate Fighter, and the loss was an early stoppage, to be honest, he's moving on to bigger and better things. And Rafael Sunsao, he's a killer 4-fight winning streak once again at bantamweight. Well-rounded guy. Both finishers, both really entertaining fighters. To me, I think the winner of this fight should be the number one contender. Faber's great, McDonald's great, but those guys, they've had their chances. They both lost. What's the point? Put in a fresh guy, especially someone like TJ Dillashaw. I actually think TJ Dillashaw is a really, really good matchup for a guy like Kenan Barao, because he's got really good wrestling, really good striking. He's very well-rounded, and that's an entertaining fight. I love this fight. I'm going with Dillashaw, actually, because I do think he's just the slightly better fighter, but we'll see. This is really, really entertaining, and I think it opens the night, so make sure you tune in at the start of the show, because this is going to be the fight of the night.
Hamzus?
I disagree, man. I got to disagree with you, Ross. Everybody knows what the fight of the night is, and we'll get to that. We will. But let me just say this, man. I don't give a damn about this fight. I'm sorry. I don't even know who these people are. I have no idea. TJ, Sunkao, doesn't mean anything. But in this video clip I have, Dana White shoots this kid. He couldn't be older than 25, just right in the head. That's it.
Yeah, he shoots him execution style, I believe, right?
Yep, he shakes his head at him, kind of half laugh, and he just blows him away, man. And it's like nobody on the internet's even saying shit, dude. I don't know, man. I love Dana. I love the UFC. But, I mean, if somebody got murdered, man, I mean, shouldn't we at least, I don't know, maybe call somebody, report this?
Hey, Ramses, do you care about your family? I wouldn't say anything. Let us move on.
The fact that I took a while to think about it, now I'm doubting. I don't know, man. I don't know, because as of this new podcast about the universe, the purpose of the universe, the secrets of the universe, does family really matter? Isn't it just spawn of just one just cell to another? Like, aren't we all family? We'll explore that in my upcoming podcast.
That's right. And let us move on. A welterweight scrap between Mike Pierce and Husamar Palhares. Ramses, I believe this is the fight you were getting to, correct?
You got it. You got the nail in the coffin. Jake from the MMA... Oh, my controller. Jake from the MMA Podcast. Yes. But wait, hold on. What are you, skipping out on your opinion? What is this, man? This is going to be the fight of the night. You understand? It is going to be. Mike Pierce, he even admitted it himself. He is the most underrated fighter in the UFC. He agrees with that. He's going to keep going for a finish, apparently. He's going to do what it takes. Husamar Palhares, I don't think he stands a chance, but this is going to be a goddamn good fight. I can't tell you enough. I can't stress this enough. Everybody's been sleeping on Mikey Pierce, but this fight is going to wake you up. They're giving him a chance. It is on the main card, right? Or at least headlining the... Right? It is on the main card.
Yeah, we're only bringing down the main card fights.
Yeah, so it's given him another chance here to get in the public spotlight live on Fox Sports 1. Definitely, he's going to destroy Palhares. All right, Paul, you were talking earlier about being well-rounded versus, just being just solely dedicated to one base, one technique, one martial art. Palhares, he's a one-trick pony, just like Ronda Rousey. Armbar, no, he's got the knee bar. That's it. And Mike Pierce, is well rounded. So Jake, that question you brought up earlier, we're going to see it play out it's going to be drastic, actually. It's going to be fantastic. Mike Pierce versus Husamar Palhares, fight of the night. Definitely.
Yeah, I was actually just saving my opinion for last. I totally agree. I think Pierce is the most underrated fighter in the UFC. The guy's only lost by split decision to the cream of the crop, and I think he gets by. And I don't really think he has much of an issue doing so. Paul Harris is a great gatekeeper. Guys who can't stop him from the leg bar. He's great at keeping people out of the top 15, 20 in the UFC. It'll be interesting to see, how far he can rise in the welterweight division. But I think Pierce is a top 10, if not a top 5 guy. He doesn't get near enough respect that he deserves. Like I said, the most underrated fighter in the UFC. That's all I got to say, Ross.
He's a very underrated guy, and like you said, his only losses are the cream of the crop, and they're split decisions and fights that you could argue he won, especially the Johnny Hendricks and the Josh Koscheck fight. The John Fitch fight, that was years ago. He lost that fight, but who cares? He's rebounded. He's looked amazing in his last couple of fights. He's starting to put everything together. He's got really good wrestling. He's got power. And that's what's going to win him the fight, the power. Paul Harris, he doesn't have the best chin in the world. And if he can't get that heel hook, he's screwed. He'll get TKO'd. And this will be no different. But this is a big threat because Paul Harris, he can catch him in that leg lock. He can catch him in that heel hook. And if he does, Mike Pierce, our boy Mikey Pierce, will be sitting on the shelf for about 9 to 10 months because he will have a torn ACL at the hands of Paul Harris. But I don't really think this is the fight of the night. Definitely a guy to look out for in Mike Pierce. Probably the guy to look out for of the night. But I wouldn't call it the fight of the night because it's not going to be a great fight. It's either going to be a quick heel hook or Mike Pierce is going to knock him out. So that doesn't make it really the fight of the night.
Yeah, and really quickly, we do have a tweet from Kyle Kadra 203. He mentions Ramses, Ross, and myself, and says, "Good podcast so far. Just get rid of that one random guy," which draws the question. He mentioned all of us, so he seems, this was a reply to a tweet by Ramses, so he obviously follows Ramses and knows who he is. Goes out of his way to mention me, goes out of his way to mention Ross, so he knows the three of us, and only we have been on the podcast. There's not a random guy who's joining us. There's not a ghost or anything.
Hold on, Jake. I saw that tweet and I thought about it for a second.
Good podcast so far. Just get rid of that one random guy.
Yes, sir. I thought about it.
Who is random guy?
He might be talking about Joey Diaz.
He might be talking about Joey motherfucking Diaz. I don't know.
Sometimes you hide your weed and you don't know where you put it, but you get high and you'll find it.
That's right, Joey.
That's right.
And
I say, no, sir. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. We'll try and cut out any random people. We do apologize. Let's move on to the next fight on the main card. Fabio Maldonado versus Joey Beltran. And to be honest, I don't care much for that fight, so we're going to skip it. Another light heavyweight matchup between Thiago Silva and Matt Hamill. Thiago is the favorite fighter, but I think Hamill might give him a little bit of trouble. Silva's won 2 of his last 7 fights. Yes, it should be 4 because he beat Brandon Vera and Stanislav Nedkov, but those wins were overturned due to the win against Nedkov to a positive marijuana test, and that win to Brandon Vera, a falsified urine sample. Lost fights to Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, and Alexander Gustafsson. The only 2 wins he has since knocking out, or since submitting Antonio Mendez at UFC 84, are Keith Jardine at UFC 102 and Rafael Cavalcante just about 4 months ago at UFC on Fuel, Big Nog versus Verdum. And that was a very impressive first round KO. He's going up against Hamill, the wrestler. You know, I think people aren't giving Hamill enough credit. I think the line should be a lot closer than it is, and I wouldn't be shocked if Hamill wins. Saying that, I still think Thiago Silva wins. He's a really impressive fighter. He's fighting in Brazil for the 2nd straight fight, and I think he takes it.
That Matt Hamill movie that came out, has anybody else seen it? Have you guys seen it?
I haven't seen the Hammer by Matt Hamill or Adam Carolla. Both of them have a movie of the same name.
It had entire scenes of him interacting with his girlfriend, who was also deaf. It was like a 15-minute long scene where they were signing at each other, and you had to read the subtitles.
Were they like feeling water at a well?
They were actually at a waterfall.
That was in horrible taste.
I know, man. But I mean, this entire production was. This movie is probably. It probably tops Never Back Down 1 and 2 as the worst loosely related MMA movie of all time. The Hammer does. So, and I know it has nothing to do with this fight, but in my head, it does. Because I'm going to watch this fight on the same screen that I saw the Hammer on. And to me, that just, my brain, my primitive brain, it can't get past that association. Matt Hamill stinks. I hope he gets knocked out and cut. That's the word on the street.
Fucking harsh, Ross.
That is pretty harsh. And one thing that you said...
It's not like he's listening.
You said...
hey,
you said before,
we do have our podcast in closed caption for our viewers who can't hear this. Ross?
Is it my turn? Does the Jew get to speak? Does the Jew get his time? Does the Jew get a platform to speak the gospel? Can I give the 10 commandments to the people finally, ladies and gentlemen?
You're
Listen,
golden.
This is what I have to say. You said before, Jake, that Thiago Silva is a very talented fighter, and I have to disagree there. I think Thiago Silva was a very talented fighter, and he has completely gone to shit. He hasn't been impressive at all. His last fight, I wasn't impressed by that performance at all. He was getting beat for 2 minutes while Fei Zhao had a gas tank. Then Fei Zhao didn't have a gas tank, so he was able to knock him out. Before that, he got his ass beat by Stanislav Nedkov for 2 rounds before Nedkov gassed, and he was able to finish that one, and then that was overturned. Gustafsson beat the shit out of him. Brandon Vera doesn't count because he was on every type of horse steroids you can find. So he really just has not looked good since he beat up that punching bag, Keith Jardine. And to me, that makes Matt Hamill like a clear winner if Matt Hamill wasn't coming off a 1-year layoff. That's what worries me. Matt Hamill's coming off of a 1-year layoff. He hasn't fought since 2012 when he fought Roger Hale at UFC 152. And yeah, he won that fight, good and all, but before that, he hadn't fought since he got his ass beat by Gustafsson. So the inactivity worries me with Matt Hamill. He's a great fighter, great wrestler, and I think he's much better than Thiago Silva, and I would pick him any day if he wasn't coming off of the 1-year layoff. I'm still going to pick him, but I'm going to pick him, and I'm not feeling very confident in this pick, but I think he will win this fight. I think he's able to take Thiago Silva down multiple times, and he's just 3 takedowns away from a victory.
Like a doctor.
That's right. That would, I wouldn't be shocked if Hamill won, but we will definitely see Wednesday night in Brazil. Let's move on to the co-main event. Eric Silva taking on Dong Young Kim. Both of them have recently had up and down records. Kim beating Nate Diaz at UFC 125, losing to Condit, beating Sean Pearson, losing to Damian Maia, and most recently beating Paulo Tiaga and CR Bahadurzada. Eric Silva on the other time beating Luis Ramos in his UFC debut in 2011, losing to Carlo Prater with that questionable disqualification at UFC 142. He beat Charlie Brenneman via submission, lost to John Fitch, and then beat Jason High. Now he's matched up against Dong Young Kim. Both of them, like I said, up and down, struggling to beat the elite of the UFC welterweights, trying to get back into the top 10 where both of them once were. Who wins the fight and why?
Yeah, man. Eric Silva, man. I fell for it. I was riding the hype train. I was fucking high on this kid. I thought he was the next, Silva. But yeah, his last couple fights, man, what was it? He gassed too early one time, and then he fucking just got pressed up against the cage. He didn't have that fucking experience. So now he's got to sell it to me again, man, because I ain't buying. So yeah, this fight will be interesting to watch. It'll be one of the better ones. Hopefully, he knows he's got to show something impressive, or else his credit is running low here. You know what I'm saying? His street cred, his favela cred. But hopefully he'll win in devastating fashion, and he'll win me back over. And if so, I'll be the first one to tell you about it. Yeah.
Ross.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm not quite sure what fights Ramses was watching, because other than the John Fitch loss, where he had a very close back and forth fight with Fitch, he's looked fantastic. His last fight, he easily submitted Jason High. He looked really good there. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't like Dong Hyun Kim. There's something about the guy. I don't like him. That being said, he is a good fighter. And I give him all the credit in the world. His chin is questionable, though. And against Eric Silva, you don't want to really have a questionable chin. Eric Silva is very explosive. He's very well-rounded. He's got great takedown defense, great jiu-jitsu, great striking. Although Eric Silva is the favorite, if I'm a betting man, like I said before, maybe put a small play on Dong Hyun Kim, because at plus 230, that's not that bad. But I am actually picking Eric Silva to win the fight. I like Eric Silva's striking here against Dong Hyun Kim's striking. I think he's able to knock him out or TKO him, do something. He's going to win with strikes. Dong Hyun Kim's good, like I said, but I think Eric Silva's better.
Yeah, Kim, you always got to watch out for his judo. You pretty much put it just about as well as I could as far as the Silva-Kim fight goes. Sort of like the Hamill-Thiago Silva fight. I think it's closer than a lot of people are making out, but I'm going with the Silva. And that brings us to the main event, Damian Maia versus Jake Shields. But before we get to that, we got to bring you the stat of the day, which honestly, before we started up, this is one of my favorite stats of the day so far. I just pulled it up recently. It's a good one. Stat of the day time. Thanks to Jamie Josta, the Dan Patrick Show, Patrick C. No O'Connor. Let's do it. The MMA Podcast. Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day! Damian Maia is 16 fights into his UFC career, including a 3-0 mark since moving to welterweight. In fights where Maia lands a takedown, he's a perfect 12-0. In fights where he does not land a takedown, he's winless at 0-4. Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Here comes the stat of the day! And we all know Damian Maia is an ace on the mat. One of the most, if not the most skilled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in the UFC. So the question is, we just heard it. When he can take a guy down and grapple him, he's 12-0. When he can't, he's 0-4. Does he have a chance to take down Jake Shields? Do you think he's going to beat Jake Shields? I say yes to both questions. Maia has looked like a dynamo at 170, and he's going to be knocking on the door for that title before we know it. What do you guys think, Maia Shields?
This fight, Maia Shields, man. Honestly, I don't care about it, of course. I don't know the difference between Jake Shields and Jake Ellenberger. Even to this day, I could not tell you. Even if they walked right in front of me and tried to punch me in the face, I knocked them out. Even had a chance to look at them knocked out and try to puzzle it out. Is this Shields or Ellenberger? I wouldn't be able to tell you. Damian Maia, I think, is going to take this fight. Whoever Jake he's fighting, he's going to do this.
He's fighting Jake Walters.
That's right, Jake, from the MMA Podcast. Well, he's going to choke you out or something, man. Something bad's going to happen to whichever Jake he fights. It's all over for Jake. And in closing, Jake, word on the street.
Closing, Jake. Jake Shields has just not performed at all in the UFC. He's on actually, he had a no contest with Ed Herman, even though that was his best performance in the UFC. It was his lone middleweight fight in the UFC, and he dominated that fight from bell to bell. So I don't really know why he's going back down to welterweight. I don't know why he made that move. He looked bad in the Tyron Woodley fight, which he should have lost. He looked bad against Akiyama. Obviously, he looked bad against GSP and Jake Ellenberger, although against GSP, he actually did better than most people do against GSP, oddly enough. And the Campman fight was not very impressive. I thought he lost that fight. So Ed Herman fight was his last good performance, and he didn't even get a W for it. And before that, it was the Dan Henderson fight where he nearly got knocked out. Jake Shields was a great fighter, and he still is a great fighter, but he's in the wrong weight class, and Damian Maia is just a bad matchup for him. He can't implement his game plan on Damian Maia. He can't take him down and grapple him, because this is Damian Maia, who's a world-class grappler, probably the best jiu-jitsu guy in the UFC. I'm not afraid to say that. He grabs a hold of you and he can fit you. I guess the new Fitch is Maia, or he can submit you, and he's rounding out his game pretty well too. So after this, if he wins this fight, it'll be 4 straight, which means maybe a title shot sometime in the near future. But I don't see any way that Jake Shields really wins this fight. I think Damian Maia will take this fight. That being said, the odds weren't good enough to bet on Damian Maia, but I do think Damian Maia wins this fight. I don't know if he's going to submit him, because Jake Shields, obviously, great grappler, but I do think he wins a 5-round decision that we're all going to be punching ourselves in the head for watching.
I agree succinctly. You made a good point. Fitch turned into Maia when Maia fitched Fitch, if you can follow along with that logic. And that breaks down the UFC Fight Night 29 schedule. I said it would be a brief show, and you know what? It's already time for the music. It's already that time. We really thank you for tuning in, though. Visit us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast, our website, themmapodcast.com. Our buddies at MMA Mental, MMAmental.com. Follow them at the MMA Mental on Twitter, of course. Or not the MMA Mental, just at MMA Mental. Of course, our friends, Yao, YAO _ the truth. Our buddy Chris at C. Lowenstein. Our buddy Alan, Westland, Eagle, AH, and anybody else. Sorry if I forgot you. Ramses, what is the word on the street?
If you want to actually understand what the purpose of every atom in the universe, the galaxy is, the omniverse, you will follow me on Twitter, The Anti-Jimmy Show, because trust me, if anybody's going to find out that's ever existed in humankind, if anybody's ever going to find out, past, present, or future, it's going to be me. I'm declaring myself the smartest man on the planet at this moment. That is the word on the street. The Anti-Jimmy Show on Twitter.
Hey Ross, what letter comes before L?
A letter comes before L. E comes before L, motherfuckers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me on Twitter at Ross Finkelstein, E before the L. I'm doing all sorts of things. I'm flying like I told you at the beginning of the show. Yes, I actually flew today. I'm not lying. Wednesday, final round, 12 a.m. Eastern.
Wait. What are you talking about? You jumped off a building and it actually worked? Like, you started flying?
Yep. That's exactly what happened.
You know what? I believe
Jesus.
Don't doubt the Jew. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 a.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday night. I guess it's technically Thursday morning. After the Ultimate Fighter, you can catch the final round where we're going to break down this card on Wednesday. We're going to break down the Ultimate Fighter. I'm going to do more shit with the Jew stuff.
Cocksucker.
Whatever. E before the L. Ross Finkelstein. You already know the drill.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. It is the MMA Podcast. We have moved from Fridays to Mondays, going live Mondays at 11:30 Eastern. If you want to catch us, call in, tweet us. If not, thanks for subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, all that good stuff. We love the shit out of you. We'll see you next week. We gone.
With our science, silencing all these idiots caught up in all their ignorance. Two clans fighting under the same banner. We all got love for this ground game, and that's all that matters. In the balance of the teachings of the grandmaster, I'm trying to master the system, that's what I'm after. And stay true to the craft, spark trees to relax. Old school miracle, listen the track. And I'm working the angles on me sharp and precise, man. Back in the day when I was learning and rocking this mic, paying homage to the classic shit. Dilated, undisputed heavyweights repping Los Angeles. And yeah, I do this for the 213.